I'm Deanna Parks, and this is the Homestead Project. All right, so getting into the Homestead Studios, this is a unique film studio because of what we're going to specialize in, and that is in virtual production. This is something that is cutting edge in Hollywood. It is something that even the Producers Guild and a lot of the guilds are still trying to figure out how it's going to work as far as how we budget for films, the kinds of crew members and how many that we need on set, and how we move forward using this kind of technology. So it's using gaming technology, which has already been around for a while, and we've been using it already in films. You've seen it with Marvel and countless other films. It started with Lord of the Rings, using facial capture and motion capture and all of that technology that was used for Gollum. So we're utilizing that in addition to all this other technology that has come out since then, and using it in pre-production. So this is where it's cutting edge, and it's really new for how Hollywood makes a film. Because normally, when you make a film, you're making major decisions. You're trying to do that in pre-production, but when it comes to production and post-production, if you make mistakes, if there's blocking issues, if there's things going on during production that you're like, oh man, we should have thought about this beforehand, or something went wrong and we had to, we're like, okay, well, I guess we'll have to fix it in post. So those are the kinds of things that you are problem solving early on using this technology. So imagine being able to have a tablet that you go and you take on location, and you get to use it for blocking and understanding the visual side of things and how you're going to use it with the camera, have it with, who's going to be in the scene. If you're using any kind of computer projection or computer technology to, create this giant creature or whatever you're trying to do, you're using this tablet to be able to problem solve early on how that's all going to work and how that's going to play out. Yes, you're using an editor from the start to be able to edit scenes and figure out that kind of blocking and stuff. It's not like final product stuff, but it's like that initial kind of stick figure, if you will, being able to figure out how that character is going to be for that particular scene, what they're going to be doing. You're choreographing a lot of stuff early on. So you're problem solving a lot of stuff early on. So that way, when you get to the actual production part of it, a lot of the decisions have already been made. You get to just plug and play. You just get to, especially when you're coming from the director's standpoint, those decisions, they're already in place. So you're saving a lot of time on set. So there isn't as much room for last minute decisions. There still can be some room for that, but as far as when it comes to actual production and saving on time and money, and who needs to be there and what kind of equipment you need, those decisions have already been put in play. So especially when you're talking about with virtual production, because you're talking about having a controlled set environment. So in the case of, I'm going to use the movie Midnight Sky with George Clooney as a perfect example. So they made that whole film using virtual production. You wouldn't know it by looking at it, but they did. So what they did is they sent a very small crew to Antarctica, and they shot the different scenes that they needed with the color, with the different color temperatures. And then they went back to their studio set, and they built the set around that. And they had these giant LED walls with all these LED screens. And if you've been paying attention to what they've been doing with The Mandalorian or Ford versus Ferrari, this is that same technology. So you're utilizing technology on the walls instead of green screen, and that provides an automatic natural lighting source. So you're not having to use as many resources with all the lighting equipment. And a lot of those decisions have already been managed and again, decided in pre-production. So when you're getting on set, then you have a very set crew. You already, the cast is there, and you get to be in that controlled environment. And this is also where it gets into having a little bit more, in our case, being able to respect people's time and our budget and money we get to have a little bit more of a 9 to 5 day job because you've already gone on location, you've gotten everything you've done, everything is already there in your production studio now. So you don't have to go anywhere. You get to go and you get to sleep in your own bed. You get to come on set the next day, do your work, and go right back to your family at night. Awesome, right? It's amazing. So my business partner still loves to go out on location and do stuff. So he will still be doing that. There'll still be that element of film production that still goes on location and does that sort of thing. But when it comes to being able to use this kind of technology for video production, this is really what we want to specialize in at the Homestead Studios. So it's very exciting stuff. I mean, I'm so happy just because of the fact that it really respects people's time a lot more. And because we have a little bit more of that set schedule, we're problem solving early on blocking and, and the bare minimum needs on set as far as crew and equipment. Since all of those decisions are made, then we're also saving on budget, because then we're not having, oh my gosh, all these things that happen during production or in post-production where we're having to make these last minute adjustments and things like that. I mean, there's still going to be a little bit of that because that's just the nature of filmmaking and we're still in technology, it still shuts, still breaks and things like that. So we still have to problem solve with that. But generally, this will save a lot of money in the end. So it saves on budget, it saves on hours, it saves on cast and crew. It allows us, as far as like COVID goes, it allows us to practice, fewer people on set. So it allows for that. And, especially if you're talking about having to go on location now you're only needing like, in the case of George Clooney and October and Midnight Sky, they had him go out to Antarctica and do a few things on location, but it was very small crew. It was minimally, I mean, it was awesome as far as your business practices and trying to figure out how best to shoot a movie for trying to be budget conscious. So with virtual production, you can end up spending a lot of money, especially upfront. That is definitely the case, especially when you're talking like Mandalorian, we're talking millions of dollars. But again, once it's all set up, it's a lot more upfront, but you're saving so much on the back end. You're potentially saving millions of dollars. So as we get going more with this, especially as Hollywood continues to figure out and game plan with this as well, we'll be able to figure this out more, and it'll be saving money all, in the end. And what I love about this is it really kind of goes back to the old studio system where you have a little bit more of that control on set, and you're not thinking so far, trying to think pie in the sky with, having to go to 50 different locations worldwide and having to think about, travel and where you're going to stay and parking and all the permits you have to get. And and then the cast and the crew and, if people get sick and backups and equipment breaking and all of that. I mean, to be able to do that all on set in a controlled environment is like, it's amazing to me. So as far as business practices go on with the film studio, you can expect to have being paid on time, being paid a just wage, potentially having daycare, because I mean, we're going to have like a ton of teenagers around us, so we should be able to provide daycare for people, have 8 to 12 hour work days, 12 max, and that would be like not normal. We really want to try and have like that 8-hour work day as much as possible. So it's practicing good business practices, respecting people for their time and schedules, and using science and technology to really make this successful. Let's get praying about this, chatting about it, spreading the word, guys. Like, subscribe, share these videos, and help us get the word out as we're gearing up for this fundraiser coming up. All right, that is it for me right now. God bless you guys. God love you, and we'll talk again soon. Bye, Natalie. Say bye, Natalie.